There's less than 65 days left till summer, so if you want to reinvent yourself in the next 60 days, then this video is for you. I have effectively become a new person at least once a year for probably the last 6 years. In fact, one of my favorite compliments ever is when I run into somebody and they're just like, oh my god, I didn't even recognize you. If you don't know me, my name is Haley. I'm your realistic and balanced bestie, helping you build a stronger brain and body. Today, I'm going to tell you the step-by-step protocol to reinventing, rebranding, and just up-leveling your life in general. If you want this whole 60-day plan laid out for you completely for free, you can just click the link in the description and get it all laid out for you. On the topic of glow ups, I'm also on my own little 60-day glow up journey, so I'm actually going to be sharing all of my tactics and my ideas for each category as we go through it. So hopefully you get some inspiration, or you just want to hear about what my plans are. We're going to be breaking our life down into 6 categories, and honestly, these are the only 6 categories that you really need to focus on to be successful. So number 1 is your body, meaning we are focusing on everything fitness and health related. Number 2 is brain, meaning that we're going to be focusing a lot on your mindset and your mental health in this category. Number 3 is beauty, so anything skincare, hair care, body care, whatever, anything related to that is in this category. Number 4 is business or career, so any career goals or anything like that that you might have. 5 is budget, and I know, trust me, I know nobody wants to talk about money, but we're gonna be talking about it because we need to have a successful glow up. And number 6 is bonding, so this is literally any bond, whether it be a relationship with someone else or a relationship with yourself, and we're gonna get all into that later, but trust me, this is one of the most important ones. So first, we're gonna break down the mindset shifts that you have to have a successful glow up, but then I'm also gonna break down each category and discuss a little bit of tips and tricks and how you can actually shift any limiting beliefs or any blocks or anything that you have in each category, as well as give you some steps that you can take to have a successful journey for that category. I've also laid out the categories in a very specific order because the goal over these next 60 days is to spend a week really focusing on each one of these categories. So you're going to start with the first one, then we're going to add on to that one after we've nailed down that first category, and so on and so forth, adding on to each week as we go. Now, before we dive really deep here, you have to get super clear on who the fuck you actually want to be at the end of these 60 days. So you can go ahead and pause the episode if you need to, but I am going to need you to really get to know exactly who that bitch is. Like, what are your ideal routines? What habits do you want to incorporate? What things does this ideal version of you enjoy? And if you can't think of anything for some reason, I want you to think of the other people that you admire as a good reference point and kind of think about what are the things that they're doing in their day-to-day life. So once we have that idea down, we essentially have to let go of the person that we currently are. And I know that that sounds like it should be really simple, but we really do hold on to the person that we are so tightly, even if we don't realize it. And that's because by holding on to our habits, our patterns, our routines, and all of those things, we are literally holding on to that version of us. And if we're holding on to our past self and that past version of us, we physically cannot move forward because you can't be in 2 places at once. And honestly, there's no such thing as a rebirth without a death first. So one of the easiest ways to release this version of you is to really just ask yourself, what things feel really comfortable in my life right now? And then you have to be willing to step outside of that comfort zone, because you have to realize that that comfort zone is no longer serving you. And that means that anything that is inside of that comfort zone is also not serving you, because if it was, you wouldn't be here right now. So once you're clear on all those things, once you're clear on what's really keeping you where you're at right now, you have to release it fully. You have to just let it go. Not tucking it away to be like, oh, I'm gonna come back to it later. You're not gonna be like, oh, it's fine, I can just pick back up those habits at some other point, like whatever. No, you have to fully let them go. Completely cut ties with this version of yourself. Because the new version of you doesn't want to doom scroll for 15 hours a day and then feel so depleted and so defeated by the world that she can't even get up and brush her teeth. I am literally speaking to my past self right now. But honestly, you really do have to think of it like completely getting rid of the old you so that you can fully step into this new version of yourself. And with this also comes the identity shift. Because even if you release that version of you and you say, oh, I'm cutting ties with this person, but you're still thinking like the old version of you, then you're still gonna fall back into those same patterns and those same routines. You have to get so clear on what thoughts are going through your ideal self's head every single day. Is she complimenting herself in the mirror every day? Is she feeling just proud of herself for getting up and going on a walk in the morning? How does she speak to herself? How does she speak about others. Your level of ideal thinking is going to completely differ from the next person. So you really have to understand what your ideal thoughts would be. Whether you journal it out or you just get really clear on whatever your thoughts are in your head, the first step is to really embody that new person. So you want to start talking to yourself the way that your ideal version is speaking to herself. And you want to start talking to other people the way that your ideal version of yourself is speaking to other people. I know this feels like you're faking it at first, but honestly, it really is just a fake it till you make it kind of situation. And the shift is going to happen a lot faster than you think once you really commit to doing this wholeheartedly. Now, to take it to the next level and really kickstart this fucking journey, we're gonna start with our first category, which is the beauty category. Now, remember I said that I set these out in a very specific way, and so we are starting with the beauty category because I truly think that this is the perfect way to really propel yourself into a transformation, because by changing it on the outside, you're inevitably gonna change yourself on the inside. So you're gonna wanna get really clear on all of your goals surrounding skincare, hair care, body care, outfits, makeup, jewelry, fashion, anything that is an external factor that affects your appearance here. The goal is to, again, think of your ideal self. So what does she wear? How does she do her hair? What kind of makeup is she doing every single day? What steps does she take to get ready in the morning? Once you are so clear on that version of you, we're gonna choose 3 to 5 goals for this category to really focus on. Now, your goals can be anything in this realm. Again, it's going to be completely up to you. Just note that we are focusing on things that are hopefully achievable in the next 60 days. And maybe not even achievable, but something that you can get into the habit of in the next 60 days. So I personally wouldn't put something like filler or Botox on this list if you currently only have $12 in your bank account. Does that make any sense? You want it to be something that you can either achieve in the next 60 days or make it a habit over the next 60 days. So I would maybe do something like gua shaing every single day or perfecting my overlined lip combo. Something, again, that you can do in those 60 days. So my personal beauty goals for these next 60 days are going to be, number 1, committing to a body care routine. For me, this just kind of looks like using body oils and lotions regularly, wearing perfume on a consistent basis, remembering to do my self-tan weekly, and committing to just exfoliating and really just taking care of my body. Number 2 is a hair mask once a week. Number 3 is going to be decluttering and finding hair products that actually work for me, because I have been struggling. This means really having to do my research on my hair type and what products work for me, and maybe even seeking professional advice here, because I honestly have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to this realm, and there's just so much to learn and so much conflicting talk here. So I really need to take these next 60 days to figure that shit out and figure out what to do for my own hair. And then from there, starting a new routine with whatever products I find that are actually good for my hair. And my 4th goal in this category is going to be to perfect a natural everyday makeup routine. And I really am not great with makeup, I'm not gonna lie to you. So this is kind of a scary goal for me, but again, we're really trying to push ourselves here. And because it's one that I know I can actually accomplish in 60 days, I'm gonna add it here because I think as much as it's gonna be hard and challenging, that's kind of the point here. Once you have your goals for each category, we are actually gonna have to focus on 2 things for each one of these categories. So the first is going to be to remove all blocks that are stopping you from completing this goal. So this means if your goal was to rebuild your wardrobe and find clothes that actually fit you and fit your style, then you have to get rid of whatever clothes that are in your closet that don't serve this purpose and you don't wear on a consistent basis. So you have to clear out the old to make room for the new. Similarly, if your goal was to dress up for work every single day, then you want to move your sweatpants and things like that into a drawer that you're not actually going to be looking at all the time, and bring those work clothes to the front of your closet so that you see them every single day and you're more likely to actually wear them. Little tiny shifts can honestly make the biggest difference to really help you stick to whatever habits you're trying to make, and they help make sure that your goals are a little bit easier to achieve, which is actually a huge factor to just achieving a goal in general. So the second step that we have to complete is to make a plan of action for each one of these goals. Now for this category, a lot of the planning is just going to be things like research, honestly. So you might be researching what kind of clothes fit your body type, finding your undertones, finding your signature scent, finding your color season. Anything in that realm is going to be really good as a plan of action for this category. So now that we have those goals, you're gonna spend this first week of your 60 days really focusing on completing your beauty habits, really working towards whatever goals you've set in this category, and just making sure that you're really locked in to these goals. And once you've got that beauty category all set out, we are ready for that second week, which means our second category. Our second category is the body category, which means that we are including all things fitness and nutritional health here. So again, thinking of your ideal self here, you really want to think, what is their ideal form of movement every single day? What are they eating on a daily basis? Are they staying active throughout the day? What is their water intake like? We are focusing on the body category next because even though it's going to probably take more than 60 days to see any actual aesthetic results, the results that you're going to feel from committing to a plan and just sticking with something are going to be unbeatable. Plus, we are adding this on top of the beauty category. So now you're going to have the boost from treating the outside of your body good, and you're also going to have the boost of feeling good on the inside, and you might even see some physical changes sooner than you think once you really commit to this. Now, remember, we are thinking in a 60-day time frame here, so obviously if you are completely sedentary with absolutely no workout routine right now, then wanting to work out 5 times a week and meal prep every single day is probably not going to be the most realistic, right? So you really want to think about what your life could be like at the end of these 60 days for all the categories, but especially for this one, because the last thing you want to do is overshoot on this category, because you're going to end up making yourself feel a little bit worse and feel like you can't achieve things if you set this goal a little too high. I highly recommend really making sure that you stick under 5 goals for this one, because you want to make sure that you're actually able to focus on them effectively. And if you choose more than 5 goals for this, you're probably going to end up feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Some of the most ideal goals to pick for this category are going to be things like a trackable fitness goal, an endurance focus goal, a sleep goal, a hydration goal, a protein goal, a recipe goal, or a movement goal. So my personal 5 goals for this category are: number 1, focusing on healing my anterior pelvic tilt, because I've honestly really noticed that it's gotten a lot worse over the past few months, and especially since I had my appendectomy and I couldn't really train my core or anything like that. Plus, working at a corporate job for the last 2 years and sitting all day really has not helped, and I've just noticed such a difference, so I really want to focus on trying to fix that a little bit. Number 2 is restarting my body recomp plan, because I just kind of feel like I've been slacking a little bit. Honestly, there's really no excuse for it. I just haven't been pushing myself the way that I wanted to, and I think that for me at least, restarting a program from scratch is just one of the best ways to kind of reset my mind and get me back to a good starting point. Number 3 is eating 4 servings of protein per day. Ideally, I want to have like 20 to 30 grams per serving, but honestly, I'm really just focusing on those 4 servings, because right now I'm not tracking my calories or macros or anything like that. So having a goal like that is really, really good for me and works really well, and it's something that I know I can personally stick to. Number 4 is getting 75 ounces of water per day, and I can't even lie to you, this is by far the hardest thing for me to accomplish when it comes to anything fitness related. My water intake, I don't know what it is. I just can never seem to hit it, and I set reminders on my phone. I do all the things that I tell people to do, and it just like, it's rough. It's really rough for me. So this is something that I'm really focusing on over the next 60 days, and I will literally just carry my water bottle around like a baby if I have to, because I have to get this and I need to get hydrated. And number 5 is going back to doing yoga 1 time per week. I was on a really good roll. Honestly, I was doing so good at the end of last year, and this year I have just completely fallen off. So we just need to get back into it, because I really noticed such a difference in my flexibility and everything like that when I am not stretching, and man, have I been feeling it. There's just, my flexibility is gone. It's gone. So like I said, once we have our goals, the first thing we have to do is remove any blockages. So hiding any food that doesn't align with what you want to eat, maybe putting sodas out of your eye level in the fridge, or simply putting your phone across the room so that you can get a good night's sleep. Once you've removed all of the distractions, you are going to create a plan of action for each one of these goals again. So if one of your goals is to go to the gym daily, or even like 3-4 times a week, you better have that plan fully set out. Are you going to wake up early to go to the gym before you go to work? Then make sure all your clothes are laid out. If you're gonna go on the way home from work, then you better make sure that you have your workout clothes with you, ready to go. Make sure you have your shoes, have a little checklist if you have to. Make sure everything is set out so that you can actually be successful with these goals. And remember that the second week that we are focusing on our body goals, we are also still doing all of those beauty goals that we set out in that first week. We are just adding these new goals on top of it. So each week we are kind of just stacking each one on top of the next. Again, that's why we really don't want to do more than like 5 goals for each one. And I know 5 even seems like it could be excessive, but I promise if you pick realistic goals, this is something that is 100% doable. Category number 3 is brain. So for this one, we are really focusing on all things mental health and mindset. So one of the best ways to prepare for this category, and honestly any category, is to see what is not working for you right now. So think about what feelings you're struggling with the most on a day-to-day basis. Maybe think about what limiting beliefs you feel like you're constantly struggling with. And the answers to these questions might not seem super obvious right away, but I promise if you keep digging, you'll find all of the reasons, and that's going to lead you to all of the goals that you should make for this category. So again, really thinking of this ideal version of you, you want to think about how do they move about their life. So again, really thinking about this ideal version of you, you want to think about how do they move throughout the world? How do they move throughout their life? Are they getting stressed about every single little thing, or do mean comments and things like that just roll right off of them? Now, why do you think they act like this? Do you think it's because they meditate every single morning? Do you think it's because they're journaling constantly and really getting all of their thoughts and feelings out on paper? Do you think maybe it's because they're always reading new books and learning new things, or listening to podcasts that are helping boost their mood throughout the day? There are so many possible outcomes here, and honestly, this is one of the categories that you can really use other people for inspiration. So if there's someone that you know or someone that you follow who you think just has such a positive personality, maybe they're just so infectious and so happy all the time, really try to see what you think their routine is like. What do you think they're doing on a daily basis that helps them to maintain that positive energy? So when you're thinking of your goals, you might want to add in things like meditation, journaling, breath work, maybe even just like a meditative walk, affirmations, anything that you think can help you improve your mindset and just help you handle things a little bit better. For me, my mindset goals are to finish at least one audiobook every single month. I feel like when I was doing this consistently, I was just constantly not only thinking of new ideas, but just having a more open mindset to the world, and I kind of felt like things just weren't affecting me as heavily as they are at the current moment. My second goal is to meditate a minimum of 5 times per week, which is a little steep considering I have not been doing it at all for the last month. I'm really jumping all the way back in here. I'm gonna try to do at least 10 minutes of meditation a day, but I will settle for 5. I'll be still happy with that. Because again, I have noticed such a difference in my life since I've stopped meditating and just my mindset and things like that in general. And my third goal for this category is to journal a minimum of 2 times per week. I've always kind of slacked with journaling. It's always been something that's kind of a very afterthought for me, and I will really only do it if I'm doing a completely solo date, self-care at home kind of day. But I really want to get into a habit of at least doing it twice per week, whether I have to set aside the time to really do that and get alone to do it, because I just think that getting all of my thoughts and feelings out on paper is something that makes such a huge difference for me, and it just helps me to really see things from an outside perspective. And now these are all things that I've personally done in the past already, so I know that they really work for me, and I know that they make a difference, and I know I feel a difference when I'm not doing them. So if you've also done things in the past that you know work for you, this could be a great time to try to add them back into your life. Or if there are things that you've never tried before and you're just I've heard that this works for people, maybe this is when you add those things in. No matter what you pick for this category, you really want to make sure that it's not something that you're going to self-sabotage. So if you're oh my god, I think affirmations are so dumb and so cheesy, then don't try to add those in right now. Maybe your mind is not ready to do those things. You want to make sure that it's something that you're actually going to be able to consistently do on a regular basis, or however many times per week that you want to set out to do it. Now, a lot of the roadblocks that you have in this category are going to be obviously mindset based. So one way to really help this is to make sure that you're filling your mind with more positive content and just self-improvement things that will help inspire you and not deter you from completing this category. To make your plan of action for this category, you're going to have to make sure that you really pencil in moments in your day to take time for yourself and to do whatever it is that you set out in this category, putting it on your schedule or just making little reminders on your phone and things like that to actually make sure that you're completing these things is so key. Now, the next category is budget. And I know nobody likes talking about money, especially in this economy. Trust me, I get it. But one of the keys to reinventing ourselves is to reinvent ourselves in every single way. And unfortunately, one of those ways is money. Your money mindset and your budgeting abilities are honestly going to have such an impact on your life. And I know that that makes me sound like I'm a snooty rich bitch, but girl, I make barely over $2,000 from a corporate job every single month, and my bills come out to $1,400 also every single month. So if anyone is going to talk to you about budgeting and money mindset, let it be me, okay? And I know one of the biggest problems is the idea that you can't budget yourself out of poverty, and trust me, I get that. I grew up in it. I still struggle with it sometimes, but you have to try to take accountability and take control over what you can control. And the reason that this is fourth out of the categories is because we want to add this in once we've already started to work through some of the other mental shifts that we have to make in this journey. So by doing this at this point, it's going to feel a little bit less intimidating, not a lot less intimidating, but just a little bit less, because we are already used to making changes in our life at this point in the 4 weeks. So you really have to think about what the ideal version of yourself is spending their money on, what are they saving, what are some of their budgeting goals, anything in this realm. You really want to get into the mind of that person and just think about what's happening there. And I'm sure the first thought you had was, well, bitch, the ideal version of me makes way more money than me. Okay, so what do they do for work? How are they making all this money? Do they have side hustles? Are they just focusing on one big career? How can you take the steps to try to make this happen for you right now? We are taking control, like I said, so this is gonna take some work, I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, this might mean making a career change or a lifestyle change, but first, the only way to do that is to know how much you're actually making and spending at the current moment. So I personally just put all my income versus what I spend into like a Google Sheets spreadsheet. I know there are apps and things like that, but I just personally haven't used them. I'm sure they work great. Once you see where you're actually spending all of your money, you can start to be like, okay, maybe I can cut back on eating out a little bit every single week, or maybe I can spend a little bit less when I go shopping every single weekend. It's all about being realistic with where you're at financially. So I also would add in anything that is a side hustle or making extra income into this category here. We are going to talk about business and career later, but for now, I want you to only add things that are like side hustle, extra money type things into this category. So this could even be if you're like, oh, I have this pile of clothes that I've been meaning to sell on Poshmark for the last 6 months. You might add a goal to list 3 items every single day into this category. So my personal budget goals for this category are to stop eating out at Chipotle for the entire 60 days. And I know that seems excessive, but I swear to God, it was becoming a problem. I was eating Chipotle like 5 times a week. And now this also means that I have to meal prep at least probably 2 to 3 meals per week so that I can make up for the Chipotle that I am now not able to spend on. No clothes shopping is my next biggest one, because I really want to focus on just making the clothes that I have currently work for me and really get a sense of what clothes I should get rid of and what I should keep or what I can repurpose. Now, I'm also including any social media goals into this one, because to me that's kind of something that I see as like more of a side hustle. So I'm going to try to do 5 Instagram posts per week and 1 TikTok every single day. I've also added in to update my weekly spend and budget and things like that bi-weekly, because I just think that when I'm keeping track of things, it personally helps me to stay on top of it and really see the bigger picture and the bigger goal here. Now, your roadblocks here might just be like the way that you justify spending extra money on yourself, or it might be the pure fact that you just don't make enough money where you're at currently. So you really want to get clear on what those roadblocks are and try to find a way around them. And this also means making your plan of action really clear and make it work for you. And this also might mean just improving your money mindset in general. That could be a great plan of action here if you're like, I really can't do anything else. I can't do a side hustle. I can't make more money. I don't have the time. Maybe just focusing on improving your money mindset. I know that sounds like it would just be really dumb and kind of useless, but I promise you, it is going to make such a difference. Our next category is bonding. And in this category, we are focusing on all bonds. So whether it be romantic relationships, friendship relationships, or just your relationship with yourself. I will always preach that your relationship with yourself is just as important, if not more important, than your relationship with other people. So it's time that we start treating it like it is. Bonding with yourself can be anything from actually taking yourself out on a full date or just having an intentional night at home by yourself. So when you think of your ideal self, what are they doing with their time? How are they spending time with the people that they love? How often are they going out on dates, either with their partner or with just new people? How often are they going out on a solo date or spending time alone or just taking time to really prioritize self-care? And what kind of activities are they doing when they're doing all of these things? Even if solo dates feel intimidating, which I know for me at the very beginning, they definitely did, you can start by just going to get your favorite food to go, bringing it back home and just like watching a movie or doing like a self-care night by yourself. You really have to treat your relationship with yourself the way that you treat a relationship with someone else. That means you have to get to know yourself. You have to get to know what your likes and dislikes are. You have to figure out your comfort levels and what you like to do alone. And you just have to find ways to show real love to yourself. Now, you also have to think about how your ideal self is spending time with their loved ones. Are they going out and getting hammered every single weekend? Or are they doing like a cute little picnic every single week? And one of those is not better than the other. It's just a matter of finding out what your ideal self is doing and what they enjoy spending their time with. So keeping all of these things in mind, you're gonna really try to get clear on what your goals for this category are. So for me personally, my goals are to do one solo date outside every single month. For me, I consider literally anything that is outside of my house an outside solo date. So whether it be me taking myself to an actual dinner or just going to the movies by myself and watching a movie in a theater. I also want to do 2 planned dates per month with my boyfriend because I feel like when I actually have things planned out, it just makes it feel a lot more intentional. And I think sometimes we get kind of caught up in the last minute planning and just kind of like going with the flow. So I want to be really intentional with this and making that a priority. And my third one is 1 self-care day per month with absolutely no phone. Now, I kind of just base my self-care days on what I'm feeling in the moment and what my body needs. So it might be like a movie night while I'm doing a face mask and a hair mask, or it could be like a bubble bath while I'm listening to some meditation or just some music or something along those lines. It really does just depend, but I really want to make sure that I'm just focusing on penciling in 1 self-care day every single month. Now, your roadblocks here are probably going to be based in the self-love realm. So you really have to look deeply into yourself to figure out why you feel so awkward showing love to yourself. And why do you not want to spend time with yourself? Is it because you assume that anybody who's spending time with you isn't having a good time, or maybe they feel awkward? If so, where does that come from? Why do you think that? You have to really get into your own head and find the root of all of these beliefs, because that is the only way that you're ever going to get past it. To plan really efficiently here, I highly recommend penciling in all of your dates onto your calendar, even for your solo dates, and making reservations if you can, because I know that that really helps hold me accountable whenever I plan a solo date. Even if it's just to go get a massage or something like that, penciling it in and making sure that you actually have an appointment set is such a great way to stay on track with this goal. And our final category is business. Now, by this point, you've already overcome some other limiting beliefs, whether we realized it or not. And the fact that you've made all of these great strides in these other areas of your life means that it's going to be so much easier to make strides in this area of your life as well. And this category is last because I think for women, which is hopefully most of my audience, it is a lot harder for us to make career goals and business goals that actually stick and make sense to us. And that's because a lot of times when it comes to anything business or career related, we feel really inferior and just a little bit scared. Now, again, we are focusing on our ideal self here. So these goals are really based on what your ideal career or business goals or anything along those lines are at the end of these 60 days. So even if you're working in a corporate job or something like that, your goal might be something that is related outside of your corporate job. Now, this doesn't mean that for these 60 days, you're going to say, fuck this corporate job, I'm not going, I'm just going to quit. You want to stay on track, you want to keep doing what you're doing, but the goals that you have might just be outside of whatever you're doing currently. I hope that makes sense, because I'm kind of really talking to myself there, because for me, I currently work a corporate 9-to-5, but a lot of my goals in this category are based around the app that I created and just growing my own business, because at the end of the day, that is my ideal self's main goal here. So my goals for this category are to post 1 long form piece of content per week, to finalize the Pilates program that I've been working on and really start testing it, getting some people to kind of be beta testers for it. Number 3 is to book 5 new client calls per week. And number 4 is to share my 2 weeks free link with at least 50 people per month. Now, a lot of what we worked through with the budget category was actually kind of preparing us for this category, because many of the roadblocks that we would have originally had for this category are going to be based in budgeting and just thinking about money in general. So getting ahead of that 2 weeks ago was actually so helpful, because at this point, we're going to be able to navigate our career and our business goals a little bit easier than we would have previously. Now, your plan of action here is going to be completely different based on your goals. So maybe your dream career is in a completely different field than you're in right now, or maybe you really are just trying to work towards a promotion in your current role, or maybe you want to completely quit your job and start the business that you've always dreamed of. You have to really just work backwards here by thinking of your end goal and trying to make your habits little checkpoints for you along the way, so that they'll lead you up towards that end goal. Now, you're probably like, Haley, 60 days is more than 6 weeks, you dumb bitch. What the fuck? Why are there so many extra days here? And that's because now that we focus on each category for 1 week each, so we're at 6 weeks there, this means we can take the time to look back and be like, okay, what has actually not been working so far? Throughout these 6 weeks, what have I actually not stuck to? What do I need to adjust? What do I need to change? And what is too big of a goal for me to actually accomplish? So now you can make any adjustments that you need to for these final 2 weeks while still having a really clear goal of what that end person looks like. So even if you're making adjustments, just make sure that you do not stop pushing towards that ideal version of yourself. And I don't know if you noticed, but you probably aren't going to actually be your dream self at the end of these 60 days, but you sure as hell are going to feel like a completely new person by the end of these 60 days. You're also going to be just moving around the world differently, and you're probably going to notice that you're experiencing experiencing way more opportunities than you did when you started this plan. So as long as you keep staying clear to your goals and making actionable steps to work towards it, I guarantee you, you're going to get to a point where nobody is going to recognize you. If you try this out, I so badly want to be a part of your journey, and I want to see what you're doing and what your habits and goals are for each category. So please tag me on Instagram at Haley Linne, or just send me a DM so I can see it anyway. And if you're watching on YouTube, please comment below and let me know your goals for each one of these categories, because not only do I want to see it, but also it could help somebody else out if they just can't think of what they want to do for each one of these categories. Until next time, be kind to your mind, to your body, and to others, and happy healing.